All right, guys, so remember these did the plasma gouging and the arc gouging at the same time, kind of to see which one you preferred or the capabilities of each. And so now it's time to put these pieces back on here. Customer had these water jetted, and he took one of the older ones, I believe, and tried to match it up. So he's changing the style of attachment to his machine. And so these guys will go on here, similar to this, obviously at a different spacing, but they are slightly off, which is not a problem, right? This happens. So it just needs a little bit of notching right here, a little bit of notching right there, and this is the spacing fixture he gave me. The pins will be solidly welded in here, and so that's pretty much it. No complications. Nice straightforward job. Now it's just a matter of, like I said, trimming them to fit. Now I do have a little bit of arc gouge marks. Some of them will be hidden from the spacing of these two ears that go on here, and some of them may not, so I'll fill them in where I can, or just where it looks aesthetically pleasing somewhat. This one I didn't get to clean up grinding when I gouged those ears off, so I'll take care of that as well. But for now I'll be cutting these 4 out. There's nothing really critical about them, because if I cut a little too much, well, then it's just a little bit of gap to weld, so that's okay. More for weld penetration, right? Like I've said before. So let's get to trimming those guys and seeing how they fit. Okay, for this situation here, I'm going to go ahead and use my hypodermis, a new Smart Sync. Works pretty good. And people ask, why don't I use plasma over torch? I usually like the torch. I'm better at it. Plasma's good, but each has its own application, right? So if you have a plasma, use it. You got a torch, use it, right? Each person likes one or the other. I prefer the torch, but it's here. This is handy, so this will work. All right, so here we go. Can't get any faster than that. Not bad, eh? A 3/4 inch plate. That's pretty cool. Pretty fast. All right, let me clean those up. Oh, a little pointer for you guys. You ever run into a situation where your grinding wheel gets all shiny, where it seems like it doesn't want to cut anymore? The problem is you're not pressing hard enough on the grinding wheel, and it's covering up the pores of the wheel itself, and so it just becomes real slick. And so there is a way of getting it off. You have to really press on it really hard to go underneath that layer of shiny, because basically you just melted a layer of metal in between the pores, and so it's just slick. and you say, man, this grinding wheel is no good. No, the grinding wheel's fine. You just need to press harder and not be afraid of using the grinding wheel for what it's used for, grinding. And so it's not a polishing wheel, it's a grinding wheel. You press on it, you know. And then also the angle of attack, as pilots would say. You need a pretty good angle so that it constantly is biting new material. You don't want to just polish it over by laying it too flat. So a good angle, and your contact path is a little small, but it'll help you get some of the harder stuff to get off. And you know, if you're trying to clean it up or polish it up later, you know, use a flap disc. That'll get rid of some of the deeper gouges. So hope that helps. I used to run into that when I was younger. Like, these grinding wheels don't work anymore, but you look at them, they're all covered in metal. Either way, more grinding. Now, after I said what I said about, you know, pressing on it, you know, press on it hard, but don't abuse it, right? There's a difference of abusing it and getting the most effective cut out of your wheel. But there is a happy medium. You go a little too light, it'll coat over with steel, and it'll just skip across the metal. And if I hadn't mentioned this already, if you want to get some of that stuff off, get a chunk of metal, and as you're grinding, kind of hit it real hard. It sounds hard, it sounds difficult, or sounds bad, I should say, to say hit it real hard, but just press on it really hard for a couple times, you know, let it cool off, but to where you're able to break underneath that layer of metal that's built up on the pores, and then you can have your grinding wheel back. It'll work. You know, you can use it, end up using it all the way down to the bottom. But I've seen a lot of wheels where they get so shiny they're not good anymore. And it's not that they're not, you just gotta clean them up in a sense. All right, so things are looking good here. Oh, I didn't grind these guys. Let me clean those up off camera, and we'll move on to the next step. Too much jibber jabber already. Okay, so now that I got them cleaned up, you know, I got a little bit of undercut there, but it's a small bucket. It'll be fine. Next step is to put these brackets on there. Clean them up a bit, cleaned up around the area where it's gonna be welded. Ooh, I need to clean around where the pin's gonna be welded. Okay, so that's the next step. Try to get these lined up. Again, the customer gave me a fixture to hold the spacing. So what we'll do is we'll put this one here at the right measurement, put this fixture to hold it in its position, help square it up, and then we'll clamp this other side to it, line up them pins, these pins here, and start tacking and gluing, heating and beating. All right, let's go. So I've already pre-marked them, kind of save some time. This guy's gonna go right in this area here, and I just got to get roughly close. You know, we're not building pianos, right? So get real close there. Once I put that fixture on, then it'll straighten it out and square it up. From the previous set of ears that were on here, or the attachment point, this tube actually got a slightly warped. It bowed up because of so much welding, and that's natural, that's going to happen. And so if you try to measure off of that, it's not going to square up correctly. And realistically, it's not that important. It sounds bad to say, but everything's got a little bit of slop in it. You know, that's just the way they are. But here, he's helped me by making this fixture here with the proper spacing, so we are looking good. This is nice and flat in there, so that's square. This has got the proper distance from here to here, so this is going to be the proper distance from there to there, if that's correct, and so it is. And so now the next step is to tack this on there in a couple spots, so make sure it doesn't move. I'm gonna leave it clamped up so that I can start welding as much as I can. The benefit of this shape here is the shape in itself will hold itself from warping too much. Now naturally I don't want to weld on it too much because it will pull anyway, so I'll just have to be careful. Weld a little bit on the inside, a little bit on the outside, you know, that kind of business. Okay, here we go. In situations like this where there's a little bit of a gap, I like to close that gap off first and then go over it. So let's do that. You see, so that helps out a little bit in making the pass look more consistent. Now this one here also was a little bit of a gap. The radius of the gears wasn't exactly the same as the bucket, but that's fine because they're all tied together. I'm saying the ears are tied together and they'll be fine. So let's weld this guy up here. Okay. All right, so got that done. Not bad. Nice little project for the afternoon. And so hope you guys learned something from it. And just, some people don't like using short circuit MIG, and it works fine, as you saw there in the inside of the bucket. The penetration, you know, started glowing. You got plenty. You got plenty hot. So if it made it through this is probably a 3/16 and 1/4 inch wall. So is this, and so it's gonna hold. Especially more so since it's welded on both sides, right? Both sides of each side of this 3/4 plate. So that's not coming off. The machine doesn't have the strength to peel that off. The machines are too small, you know. So anyway, hope you guys dig it. Get it? Pun, dig it. And so we are done. Thanks again for watching. Hope you guys learned something from it. It's not as hard as it looks. Just gotta have a little bit of confidence in knowing the procedure that you're doing for yourself and follow through. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you guys later.